Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be. I hope you can all hear me. Maybe if I can have a mic check first of all. Hope you can hear me. If you let me know in the chat that you can hear me, if you please, if you wouldn't mind, while I load up a few things. Sounds good. Good. Thank you, Tatabogi. So who we got? Stuck in Florida, or you just joined us? Oh, just seen you there. How are you, sir? Who else? We've got Carl Edwards, Christine Frost, S2000 as always. Thank you very much for coming. Curve Pimp, Tatabogi I've already mentioned. Who else have we got? I think that's who we got at the moment. No Name. There you go, No Name. You're going to have to give yourself a name, No Name. Right, so what I thought I would do this time round, which I haven't done before, is I thought I would share with you the... just close a couple of things down here. Show with you the press pack is what you can see on screen as well as me. So I thought I'd just go through details, just give you an idea what it's about, what they're launching, what the payload is, and a few other things to look out for. What also I'm going to do as well during the live launch, you'll see at the top when I go to the coverage, there'll be a black bar with my logo on it, and you'll see an update of each event as it's coming along with the time that it's actually supposed to happen. You know, liftoff and separations and things like that. Okay, so that's what I'm hoping to do. So let's go through the press pack. Now, when I went through this press pack on OBS earlier on, it crashed. So if I do disappear, I will be back. Just hold on for a second, and then I'll abandon it, and I'll just talk about it rather than showing you it as well. So hopefully, it will all work out. So let's have a look. Okay. So, as is the title said in the video, it's Ariane 5 rocket launch, type flight VA249, and it's launching two satellites, Intelsat 39 and the EDRS-C, and they're both communications satellites. So as it says in the pack, Arianespace to launch two geostationary satellites with Ariane 5, Intelsat 39 as ERDs, as I just mentioned. ERDS-C rather. Geostationary orbit, of those that you don't know what that is, essentially a geostationary orbit for a satellite means that the satellite will rotate, will orbit around the Earth, at the same speed as the rotation. So it stays at a stationary orbit to a reference point in the Earth. So a lot of countries will have communication satellites which often are geostationary in nature. So that's what geostationary is. So there's a little bit of information about Intelsat 39. I'm sure most of you have heard of Intelsat. That's going to apparently says it's the 61st satellite launched by Arianespace for Intelsat. So it's the first mission in service since 1983. So yeah, they've been the primary, and this one's replacing Intelsat 902, which was launched in 2001. EDRS-C satellite is again another communications satellite, and that's for Airbus, and in partnership with the European Space Agency. They're the customers for those. So yeah, that's the two satellites have been launched. A little information about the launch time is happening. We've got a launch window of 2 hours 21 minutes. Starting at half past the hour, so they'll launch at that time if they can. If they can't, they've got until another 2 hours and 21 minutes to launch at that time. That's the time window. Total duration of the mission is 33 minutes 31 seconds. Perigee, which is the lowest point when it after it gets into orbit, is 250 kilometers, and apogee, which is the total altitude, that's exactly geostationary orbit altitude of 35,786 kilometers. Okay. The launcher's altitude and trajectory are controlled by two onboard computers located in the Ariane 5 vehicle equipment bay. If you can see from the image from the right, you've got the top part, which is the first satellite, which is the Intelsat. Did I say it? I always get this wrong. Intelsat as the top part there, and then below that you've got the other satellite as well, and just below that in the cream coloured area on that image at the bottom, that's where the control computers are located. Okay, so that's that, and just a little graphic of Intelsat 39, quite sexy I think, and a little bit of information about it. Got a design life of about 15 years in orbit, or 15 years or more, built by Maxar Technologies. And there's the EDRS-C satellite as well, quite a sexy image as well. About shelf life to 15 years, as I said before, customer Airbus, manufactured by OHB Systems, and again, telecommunications satellite. And this is a graphic of the rocket itself. We've already seen the top part of it, and there's the vehicle equipment bay, which is where the launch computers are actually kept, or the control computers rather. And then below that you've got the cryogenic upper stage. It's the second stage of this rocket, quite a small one, and the upper stage rocket, and of course we've got two solid rocket boosters either side, and of course the main cryogenic main stage, which will be obviously jetted at some point. And with given a total thrust of the solid rocket motors and the Vulcan engine, gives a total of 13,000 kilonewtons at liftoff. Fairly significant, not the biggest, but yeah, certainly pretty powerful anyway. Yeah, it's just some dates of the run up to it. Countdown wise, they've already fully fueled and ready to go. From what I understand now, all systems are go at the moment, so we're going to be lifting off shortly. And what I'm going to do, as I said, I'm going to give you some of the key stages as they happen, with some text at the top of the page. So that's sort of the rundown of what it's all about. Hi, sorry about that, everybody. If I can give another quick voice check, make sure everything's okay. Can you hear me okay? Everyone hear me? Sounds good, excellent. Right, so I'm going to hand over now to, I'll just get a few things set up. I'm going to hand over to Arianespace, and we will see the launch hopefully shortly. Just 1 second, let's get things set up here again. Well, I hope everybody is okay on this fine evening. Well, I trust. Okay, so I'll hand over to Arianespace now.
nous a autorisé à transférer le lanceur sur son pas de tir.
La campagne s'est déroulée dans un esprit toujours constructif et j'en remercie toutes les équipes.
Coming to you now from the broadcast booth for the 7th launch of the year for Arianespace, the third Ariane 5 of 2019.
La campagne s'est déroulée dans un esprit toujours constructif et j'en
1,700
remercie toutes
people are
les équipes.
working around the space base in all for a launch of Ariane. Our cameras are here in Jupiter, but many others, you can imagine, are hard at work for the 7th launch of the year for Arianespace. Now 5, another one later on.
La campagne
This
s'est
place
déroulée dans un
is
esprit toujours
some
constructif et j'en
1,700
remercie
people
toutes
are
les
working
équipes.
around the space base and are working under the direction of the launch cameras are here in Jupiter, but many others, you can imagine, are hard at work for the 7th launch of the year for Arianespace. The work done up there carried out by two teams, one responsible for executing flight chronology, the other for verification of the flight worthiness of the vehicle itself. The Launch Complex Operations Manager heads up the group responsible for execution of the chronology, and he coordinates with Mission Control, that's us here in Jupiter, for final authorization to launch. And when all the conditions are right, and not before, he's the one who then okays the automatic sequence at the 7-minute mark, which we saw. In all, about 100 people up there working on going over the final checks and verifications on all parts of Ariane's launch systems. Final countdown, we mentioned, began 5:07 this morning. The onboard computers were turned on at 9:12 and the flight program was loaded. Split-screen image here showing the propellant feeder arms in the middle of the launch vehicle. We're going to pull back, you'll get a better picture in just a second. Liquid hydrogen going in on the left, liquid oxygen on the right. What are they doing? They're putting propellant into the upper stage tanks. And you'll see these arms pull back at 7 seconds before ignition. They're hidden just behind the upper stage there, along, if you see ESA and Ariane on the back of the gantry, that's where they are. One of the last things you'll see before liftoff, we'd like to take just a minute to point it out. Under 2 minutes, the electrical power supply has been switched from the ground to onboard. That's one of the last things on the list. So little by little, Ariane 5 is becoming more autonomous and ready to go. And you can see here in Jupiter, the invited guests have begun to make their ways outside to watch the liftoff. Bright daylight today. We haven't seen a daylight launch in a while. There are 2 terraces on either side of the building that give a fine view onto the pad. Ariane's trajectory takes her almost right over us here in Jupiter. Guests get a fine view. DDO is going to call out the 1-minute mark, and we will be into the final 60 seconds.
Top, H0 moins 1 minute.
I don't know if you heard that, but the DDO called out 1-minute mark. Give us a chance to say hello to all of our friends at Intelsat in the U.S., Maxar in the U.S., Airbus Defence and Space, OHB, locally to the French Guiana sites, to our industrial partners, ESA and CNES, and to all of you following on the internet. We hope you're enjoying it. We're going to cut away and let you listen to the DDO as he will call out the final seconds. Watch for the cryogenic arms to open. That sets the ball rolling. Enjoy the liftoff.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage du Vulcain. Allumage des EAP et décollage. Paramètres bord sont normaux, la propulsion est nominale. De la manœuvre en roulis. Les paramètres bord sont nominaux.
So at 16:30 local time and right on time, Ariane 5 began her mission lifting off from the ground here in French Guiana with a lot of fire and with 2 new satellites rising into the bright blue sky. Wonderful pictures. trailing exhaust flames of gold. The two boosters providing 90% of our thrust right now, propelling the launcher along her trajectory at an ever higher velocity. 775 tons at liftoff, hard to believe. But to get that sort of mass off the ground, you need a lot of push. And push we have. Push you can see there. She's burning 5 tons of fuel every second. 2.5 tons are burning every second in each of the boosters. Plus the core stage, the middle stage, burning another 300 kilos of fuel every second. Ariane 5 is now following the program in the onboard computer, which gives all the orders, including stage separations. We're going to see those in just about 20 seconds. We're in the first of 4 flight phases as we pass to the animation. We'll be describing each in turn, so you can follow Ariane on her way east across the Atlantic. Right now, the first flight phase, as you can see on the animation, the single first stage engine and the 2 boosters are burning. The boosters burn just over 2 minutes.
La propulsion est nominale, la trajectoire est nominale, tous les paramètres bord sont normaux.
The DDO says everything is perfect on board, and he's announced the separation of the boosters, and you can see that. That's the 2 points of light on the top, the flames of the 2 boosters flaming out. The single point of light below that is the lower stage, which continues to burn. Fine shots. We may even have shots of the fairing separation coming up in less than a minute. That'll make another 2 points of light in the bright blue sky. The single first stage engine is burning now, taken over from the boosters. The boosters will fall.
La propulsion est nominale, la trajectoire est nominale, tous les paramètres bord sont normaux.
DDO says everything is nominal on board. The boosters fall 500 kilometers from shore into a protected area. Look on your screen on the bottom, our altitude 104 kilometers, on the right our speed 2.27 kilometers per second. The speed we need to inject the satellites, roughly 8 or 9 kilometers per second, as we've separated the fairing. There are actually 2 halves. There's another half on the starboard side of the vehicle, which is out of camera range. We can separate the fairing now because we're out of the dense layers of the atmosphere. Over 100 kilometers up, there's neither friction nor heating, which could disturb the passengers. We can also now discard any dead weight to maximize the launcher's performance, and the fairing weighs 2.5 tons.
La trajectoire est nominale, tous les paramètres bord sont normaux.
So we can get rid of it now. So all is fine on board, coming up on 4 minutes after a liftoff of the 7th Ariane flight of the year. As we look at some of the Arianespace people, we're going to look at, we'll see Charlotte Besco in a minute, and Didier Freve from CNES and ESA. The European space effort is a 3-way affair among Arianespace, the European Space Agency, ESA, and CNES, the French Space Agency. You find them all here, along with the customers. Arianespace in charge of operating the family of launchers and marketing the launch services and the Ariane program. ESA funding new programs. CNES overseeing coordination of all space-based operations. The Guyana Space Center is the world's only dedicated commercial space base where Arianespace operates a launcher family. That's Ariane 5 soon to be Ariane 6, Soyuz, and Vega, soon to be the updated Vega C. A series of films coming up for you now on the customers. Up first, a look at Intelsat 39.
Hello, I'm pleased to welcome this third Ariane 5 ECA launch of the year with on board 2 passengers. Intelsat 39 for the operator Intelsat and EDRS-C based on a public-private partnership between the European Space Agency and Airbus. Regarding in particular Intelsat 39 satellite, Arianespace is proud for having been selected by Intelsat to launch ICE-39, which will be the 61st Intelsat satellite launched by Arianespace. This high-power communications satellite, with a mass of 6.6 tons, was built by Maxar in Palo Alto and will replace Intelsat 902. It will be located exactly at 62° east orbital position. I would like to thank all the teams that have been involved in this program. First, of course, our customer Intelsat, which always relied on Arianespace, with a dedicated, very efficient teamwork all along the program. Constructive approaches and optimizations have always been shared and preferred between the project teams, this was really a key driver to conduct a smooth and efficient launch campaign. I wish a long life to ICE-39.
We are in the second powered flight phase, the single-engine core stage burning now. You can see that on the animation. Another 2 minutes to go roughly until it shuts down. In just 2 seconds, we will be picked up by our first downrange tracking station. That's over the border in Brazil, a place called Natal. The station run by the Brazilian Defense Department for the CNES in an agreement with ESA. It will see lower stage burnout and separation. All of Ariane's trajectory has been designed to be followed from ground course. Continuing our look at the passengers tonight, a first look at our second satellite, EDRS-C.
Welcome all to the European Spaceport for VA249 launch. As the Arianespace Program Director for EDRS-C, I am in charge of the customer interface and launch services mission preparation. And I have here the pleasure to present the satellite which will be launched in lower position of this flight. In July 2015, Airbus Defence and Space selected a European launcher for the launch of EDRS satellites. EDRS-C will be the second space segment of the European Data Relay System. It will enable ultra-fast transfer of data from low Earth orbit satellites down to Earth. EDRS-C also hosts HILAS-3, a communications payload for Aventi with flexible capacity over Africa and the Middle East. EDRS-C is the second satellite based on OHB small GEO platform, with the first one launched in 2017 by Arianespace. Over those 4 years, Arianespace and Airbus have built strong links of cooperation and coordination in the frame of the execution of the launch services contract. On behalf of Arianespace, I would like to sincerely thank our customer for their trust.
The Space Data Highway, you might have heard about it, a public-private partnership between ESA and Airbus Defence and Space, an optical fiber network in the sky, comprising 2 geostationary satellites. The first, EDRS-A, was already launched in 2016. EDRS-C, tonight's passenger, also hosting Aventi's HILAS-3 payload. More on that in a film later on. And there's a third EDRS satellite, EDRS-D. It's in the works for the Asia-Pacific region. We are coming up on cutoff of the lower stage. You see on the animation the nozzle shutting down. And there's the separation of the stage, and you'll see the nozzle on the upper stage light up there. There we are. These 3 commands given by the onboard computer in about 13 seconds. The lower stage will fall into the Atlantic off the Gulf of Guinea. You remember our mass at liftoff, 775 tons. Well, we're down now after separation of the first stage and all the fuel gone. Total mass, 30 tons. We're into the third and final powered flight phase, the single upper stage engine that'll burn until plus 25, 32 seconds, 16 minutes roughly in all. The job of the upper stage: it takes the satellites to their injection point, it positions them for separation, and then releases them. That is its propulsion role, but she also has a second role, and that comes during Ariane 5's ballistics phase, after the power phase, which comes later in the flight, and we'll have more on that coming up. But for now, another film on our first passenger, Intelsat 39. You'll be hearing from their CEO, Stefan Spengler.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us to watch the launch of Intelsat 39. Launching a new satellite is always an exciting time. It brings the promise of new opportunities to connect individuals, businesses, and communities using the latest advancements in satellite technology. It also reinforces the teamwork and technical innovation evident in our partnerships across the industry. Intelsat 39 will replace Intelsat 902 at 62 degrees east. This new satellite exemplifies the diversity of services that Intelsat's space-based platform and Intelsat 1 terrestrial network provides our customers around the world. Intelsat 39 is designed with both wide-beam and high-powered steerable spot beams to meet the needs of broadband networking, video, and government customers across Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. The steerable spot beams provide flexibility within the payload and enable our customers to efficiently respond as their requirements shift over time. The satellite will feature C and Ku band capabilities to provide additional scale to our Intelsat Flex managed services. It will enhance mobile connectivity for aeronautical, maritime, enterprise, and government customers operating across these geographies. Intelsat 39 is a powerful platform that will enable our customers to expand their high-speed networks at a lower cost of ownership. It will provide governments and mobile operators with the infrastructure they need to reach remote areas across the region, supporting our mission to narrow the digital divide. The government of Myanmar will use Intelsat 39 to enhance its network and the networks of other mobile operators and media companies. Affordable 3G, 4G broadband, and internet connectivity will extend throughout the country. None of these benefits would be possible without dedicated partners who share our commitment to building a more connected world. On behalf of Intelsat's employees, I would like to thank our manufacturer Maxar and our launcher Arianespace for their commitment to deliver a successful program for Intelsat. I'd also like to recognize the Intelsat team around the world for their work on Intelsat 39. Thanks to each of you for your technical expertise, dedication, and commitment to excellence. Your efforts are greatly appreciated. Finally, let me express my sincere appreciation to our customers for their continued trust in Intelsat. We value our partnership and look forward to advancing your strategic initiatives and continued growth. Now I'd like to wish us all a successful mission. Go Intelsat 39.
At the top of the broadcast, Luce Fabregat mentioning that Intelsat was an old friend. Our first mission with Intelsat back in 1983, that was on Flight 7, one of the promotional flights for the Ariane 1. And it weighed 1.8 tons. So you compare that to 6.6 tons today. As of June, Arianespace has launched 60 satellites for Intelsat and signed 58 launch contracts with the operator. Our last Intelsat launch was last September. That was Arianespace Intelsat 38. It was flight 243, weighed 3.5 tons. Also, the 100th Ariane 5 mission. And there's one for Intelsat remaining in the order book. It's coming up in 2020, next year. Another look now for more on Intelsat 39, and this time it's prime contractor Maxar.
Le pilotage est calme, la propulsion est nominale, tous les paramètres bord sont normaux.
Intelsat 39, the satellite that we're launching today, is going to replace satellite Intelsat 902 that was built by Maxar and was launched here in French Guiana in 2001. And that satellite was contracted for a lifetime of 13 years, so we're coming up on 18 years, so it's giving us close to 50% more life than we contracted for, so we're happy with that. I've been involved with about 15 satellites. I've really got to know the teams here at Maxar and appreciate their professionalism and their technical know-how. I think Maxar is a world-class company. When it comes to building communication satellites, they are one of the best.
While you were watching that film, we were picked up by our next downrange tracking station. That's Ascension Island, tiny island in the South Atlantic, 10 square kilometers. NASA had a station there till 1989 when they closed it. ESA, the European Space Agency, decided to build its own. This is the 65th Maxar satellite to be launched by Arianespace and the 57th based on their 1300 platform. Our last Ariane launch, June 20th, orbited a Maxar satellite. That was Intelsat 7C. And there are currently 4 more Maxar satellites in Arianespace's backlog for upcoming missions. Roughly 10 minutes to go in the upper stage burn. You may have heard that Europe is developing the successor to Ariane 5, Ariane 6. More market-driven vehicle to meet customer needs and market changes, including electrical propulsion. Ariane 6 will, they tell us, have shorter and more streamlined launch campaigns. There are 8 Ariane 6s already in the Arianespace backlog, first launch 2021. Another look at EDRS-C coming up for you now.
At Europe's spaceport in Kourou, the new EDRS-C satellite is undergoing final preparations before its launch. An Ariane 5 will lift the satellite into geostationary orbit, where it will join EDRS-A, which was launched in 2016 as a hosted payload on Intelsat 9B as part of the European Data Relay System. The European Data Relay System is a collaboration between ESA and Airbus Defence and Space, aiming to improve and accelerate data transmission from low Earth orbiting satellites to the ground. From their geostationary orbit, EDRS satellites can both see the low orbiting imaging satellite as well as the ground stations. Data from the imaging satellite is sent via a laser link to EDRS, which then transmits data via radio frequency to the ground stations. This process allows for longer and faster data transfers, creating the space data highway.
EDRS is called a space data highway because it's likened to an optical fiber in the sky. It's a highway through which data travels at enormous speeds. In the case of EDRS, at up to 1.8 gigabits per second. And if you compare this to a conventional internet connection at home, you can say that it's about 100 times the speed that you get with your internet connection when you surf at home. So that's a real highway for data in space.
The main features of EDRS are a high transfer rate achieved by the use of laser technology and a near-permanent availability, a result of the satellite's bird's-eye view from geostationary orbit. This results in a quasi-real-time availability of the data on the ground, a step forward from conventional systems that only allow data transfers for 10 out of every 90 minutes. EDRS is the first commercial system in the world to use optical communication between satellites. While the system has been jointly developed by ESA and Airbus, it is the latter who will operate the service.
The launch of today's EDRS-C satellite is a fantastic opportunity for enhancing our space data highway system. With Space Data Highway, Airbus is the first connectivity operator of laser communication services. Already today, Space Data Highway links all the 4 Copernicus satellites near real-time to the Earth, and it will allow, with the second satellite, to have near real-time data of 2 Earth observation satellites at the same time. A fantastic innovation. Also, it will be, of course, a backup of the first satellite in case we have a problem.
EDRS-C is the first dedicated EDRS satellite. It will provide additional capacity to the European Data Relay System, but also improve its robustness and further increase coverage. Once both nodes are fully operational, EDRS will be able to relay at least 50 terabytes of data every day. Today, ESA and Airbus are already working on a third node, EDRS-D, which will be positioned over the Asia-Pacific region and mark another step towards worldwide use of this breakthrough technology.
The ultimate goal will, of course, be to achieve global coverage so that we can transmit imagery that is taken anywhere in the world to Europe within quasi-real time, meaning almost immediately.
And there is a great future in using EDRS. With our new Pléiades NEO satellites, 30 centimeter resolution coming soon, from 2021 onwards, we will be providing you with more high-resolution, near real-time data for Earth observation applications. And I'm very proud of that.
With higher resolutions and better imaging techniques, the amount of data provided by low Earth orbiting satellites will only increase further in years to come. Therefore, both ESA and Airbus are convinced that optical communication in space is a key technology, allowing us to fully exploit these vast amounts of data. EDRS is the beginning of a new era in space-based telecommunications, and the launch of EDRS-C is another step towards the completion of the space data highway.
So EDRS adding lasers to space. Big improvement. That's the future. During the film, we were picked up by our next downrange station in Libreville, Gabon, on the west coast of Africa. It has been run by CNES for over 30 years and covered by an agreement between the European Space Agency and the Gabonese government. Tonight, a standard double launch to communication satellites, but throughout the long history of the Ariane family and Soyuz and Vega, Arianespace has launched for all types of missions and all types of orbits. On EDRS, a payload called Hylas-3, a short look now at its builder, Avanti. DDO continues to say that all is perfect on board, everything happening just the way it is planned to happen. Some numbers, right, some numbers. This is the 72nd launch of this version of the Ariane 5, the 312th mission performed by the Ariane family of launchers, and the 105th on Ariane 5. Intelsat 39 and EDRS-C are the 215th and 16th satellites to be launched by an Ariane 5, both with a lifetime of 15 years. Up next, a look at EDRS-C's prime contractor, OHB.
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station de Malindi au Kenya. La manœuvre en route.
EDRS will be the 26th satellite launched by Arianespace, based on an OHB platform. Currently 7 OHB satellites in Arianespace's backlog, 4 more in the Galileo fleet, the H2Sat, the Heinrich Hertz communication satellite for Germany, and 2 MTG, Meteosat third generation satellites for the EUMETSAT weather group. During that film, we were picked up by our last downrange tracking station in Malindi, Kenya. It will see upper stage burnout and satellite separation. About 15 seconds left to go until the extinction of the upper stage engine. We'll hear the DDO call out that milestone. We'll be out of the powered flight phases and into what they call the ballistics phase, or the coasting phase, or the free flight phase. You see the nozzle shutting down there. DDO will confirm cutoff of the upper stage engine occurring at about 670 kilometers altitude. Our mass now down to 15.5 tons from 775. Ariane has reached her maximum speed, which you can see on the lower right, 9.3 kilometers per second. And you'll see her begin to slow down when she separates Intelsat 39 in about 3 minutes. Her speed will be 8.8 kilometers per second. When she releases the Silda, that's the carrying structure for the second passenger, at plus 31 minutes, she'll be flying at 8.59 kilometers per second. And when she separates EDRS-C at plus 33.31, plus 33.30, I think it should be, her speed will be down to 8.2 kilometers per second. With the power shut down, we're going to go to our next film and look at Intelsat's first maneuvers after separation. We'll be back with more.
Good evening. I'm Mohinder Guru, Senior Program Manager at Intelsat, and I'm pleased to be back in Kourou for my second launch campaign as the Spacecraft Mission Director within the space of 10 months, this time on Intelsat 39. After separation from the Ariane 5, our mission team at the Long Beach Control Center will take charge of the satellite and will start commanding. First deploying the solar arrays, followed by 4 apogee motor burns and deploying all appendages, and 7 days of electric orbit raising using xenon thrusters to position the satellite to its initial IoT longitude of 55.3 degrees east. After completion all bus testing and phase 1 of payload testing, Intelsat 39 will be maneuvered to its final operational longitude of 62 degrees east, where phase 2 of the payload testing will be performed with the goal of entering Intelsat 39 into service by October 2019. I would like to sincerely thank everyone at Arianespace, CSG, and Maxar Space Solutions involved in this endeavor. So go Intelsat 39.
We're a minute away from separation of Intelsat 39. There's a team there as we near confirmation of the DDO on separation of our upper passenger, due in about a minute. Intelsat, of course, going back a long way in the history of spaceflight, all the way back to Early Bird, if you recall, 1965, which was Intelsat 1, one of the world's first commercial communications satellites. So they've done this before. And yet it's always a moment of high concentration, no matter how much experience you have. The teams have gone through these procedures before many, many times, but it does call for tremendous focus. You don't want to use the word tense, but I guess focused, concentrated gives you an idea. All eyes on the computer screens, all ears on the phones, awaiting confirmation of our satellite separation. Intelsat 39, roughly about 10 seconds. That's Intelsat 39. On the right of the screen, below that is the black bell-shaped structure, is the Silda. That's the carrying structure holding the second satellite. There's the scheduled separation. We're waiting for the DDO's confirmation.
Séparation du satellite Intelsat 39.
And there we are, the first good news, as the men from Intelsat are nodding and pleased. You see they're holding, very politely holding their applause, because the mission, of course, is not over yet. We still have to separate our final passenger, EDRS-C. Intelsat 39 separated with a transversal spin. We promised you to show another place where people are hard at work tonight. Now we're going to go up there now. When choosing a space base, the Europeans wanted nearby hills where they could install radar and telemetry. And this is the CVI, called the Quick Look Telemetry Display Control Center. It's on a hill just behind us here in Jupiter. These teams have all the means for receiving and processing, storing and analyzing all the data coming in from the ground stations along Ariane's flight path. The downrange tracking stations follow the launcher, and right now these teams are following all the key flight data coming in by radar and telemetry to this post here. And they report the flight status, they report all that data on the launcher back to the teams here in Jupiter. And the announcements you hear made by the DDO come from the CVI. The information going to them first, and then relaying it here. Also to the flight desk, of course, and to the Launch Complex Operations Manager. All part of the great information flow from points across the space base back to Jupiter here. coming up on Silda separation. You'll see that. The Silda will be pushed away from the mothership, just like the satellites were. And there you are. There's the scheduled separation of the Silda.
Séparation du système de lancement double Ariane, le SILDA.
And the DDO has confirmed it. Intelsat 39 signal will be acquired. The first signal will be acquired by its station in Australia. Going to another film on the Super Data Highway.
Let me now introduce to you the head of EDRS infrastructure at Airbus, Mr. Matthias Wiegand. Good afternoon, Matthias. Matthias, could you explain what is the main mission of EDRS?
Our launching customer is the European Commission's Copernicus Earth Observation Program. The data relay service to the Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 satellites allow the delivery of large volumes of time-critical data to Earth monitoring centers within Europe in near real time. Before EDRS, a process that would typically take several hours. EDRS will be the second communication node, followed by a third satellite over the Asia-Pacific region by around 2024. Equipped with 3 laser terminals, EDRS-D will again significantly increase the communication capacity and its coverage.
Thank you, Matthias. Let me now introduce to you the EDRS project manager at ESA, Mr. Michael Witting. Michael, since when has the EDRS service been available and how will EDRS-C contribute?
The commercial EDRS service has been available since November 2016 via EDRS-C's sister payload EDRS-A. By the end of 2019, the system will also provide a fully European broadband communication service to the Columbus module of the International Space Station. From 2021, the Pléiades Neo Earth observation satellites will begin to use the Space Data Highway.
Coming up in less than 30 seconds on separation of our final passenger, EDRS-C, as we look at the teams. Again, a moment of high concentration for them. They've gone through all these procedures before, just like the Intelsat people did. But again, the waiting, same suspense, this time for the second passenger. Tonight, remember, representing years of work for many of these people.
Séparation du satellite EDRS-C.
Well, the final good news, as you can hear. The applause from the people here in Jupiter. Everybody happy. Ariane 5 delivered her second passenger, EDRS-C, out over the Indian Ocean. Handshake, smiles, cigars and champagne forthcoming. So from those very concentrated minutes, just moments ago, you can see the change here in Jupiter. Very buoyant, very happy. The hugs and the kisses all across the Space Center and at the points and posts where people are following the launcher and the satellite. Work will be just beginning there at the different ground stations for both Intelsat 39 and EDRS-C and at the other sites around the world where the satellite's first maneuvers are being monitored. Congratulations all around. EDRS-C separated by a longitudinal spin, different from the Intelsat 39, which was separated with transversal spin. Just wanted to note that. We're waiting, of course, now for the traditional post-separation speeches. The podium in Jupiter being set up for our speakers, who will include Luce Fabriquet, Arianespace, I believe John Harborne of Intelsat, Grant Gould from Maxar. We're going to go to a launch replay while we're reciting these names. You can relive those exciting moments half an hour ago as Ariane 5 took off from French Guiana here. Grant Gould from Maxar, we said. Richard Franklin of Airbus Defence and Space, who will also be speaking. As will Scott Richardson of Avanti Communication and Guy Perez, that's Guy Perez, I apologize, of OHB. These shots from all the replay, from the replays at all the observation posts at the base, there are 6 or 7 observation sites from differing views, including view from the beach, which is very popular here with the locals. Wonderful shots of Ariane rising up into the late afternoon sky. Luce Fabricate is making her way to the podium. I can see she will be first to speak. And the next voice you hear will be Luce Fabricate of Arianespace.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Arianespace is delighted to announce that Intelsat 39 and EDRS-C have been separated as planned on the targeted geostationary transfer orbit. For the third Ariane 5 launch of this year, our heavyweight vehicle has once more performed flawlessly. Congratulations to all of you. Well done, Ariane 5. Let me first thank our customer, Intelsat,